to the track, the wall, makes the leap, and makes the catch! Amazing catch by Junior! He got it! A perfect game! 13 strikeouts. And Bonds hits right high! It's a game! It is out of here! 7:56! What a special moment for Barry Bonds! Swinging a long drive, deep to right, going, goodbye! He has done it! He has changed the game of the night with one swing of his bat!
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Champions Adjust podcast. We are back after a little hiatus. We dropped episode number 42 on May 24th. We are recording this, which is episode number 43 on August 1st. So sorry for the break or the delay of not releasing episodes. We were in the midst of baseball season out there coaching, which we will touch on a little bit today and further episodes. We are going to try our best, as always, to record on a consistent basis because, we love doing this podcast and hopefully you enjoy it as well. But again, this is the Champions Adjust podcast, and this podcast is sponsored by Champions Adjust. Champions Adjust is the business, and there are some branches underneath that, which include the podcast, which include a clothing brand, which you can find at champsadjust.com, and our mindset program, which includes mental skills and pitching side as well. So thanks for listening, watching, wherever you are. Appreciate it. This is episode number 43, and we're going to touch on the thing that we remember most clearly about the season, since it happened most recently, was our trip to Alabama.
Trip of a lifetime. That was awesome.
Very fun, cool trip.
So cool.
A lot of moving parts went into that trip. So kudos to you, Coach Bodzin, for getting that all together, recruiting a few different players.
Yeah.
Had one official practice with that team before going into Hoover and playing 6 baseball games against the top 14U baseball teams in the whole country. So a lot of competition, a lot of really good dudes, a lot of baseball players who could really play and know the game. And we went out there for a week and we competed the best we could.
Yeah.
So initial thoughts after a week or so after Hoover?
I'm glad we made it happen. I think that it was really tough. Try to stay away from the negativity of it, but basically my team this year, it was what it was, right? And the parents decided they didn't want to take this trip because I don't necessarily agree with the thought process of we're not going to take a trip because we don't want to get our butts kicked. Like, why go if we're going to lose? Like, that's a terrible, in my opinion, a very bad life lesson to teach a kid, right? Is why try if you're going to go and lose? So what we did is we rounded up people who did not share that sentiment and found kids who, we found parents who were excited for their kids to have an experience against some of the nation's best baseball players, win or lose or draw, and be a part of this really cool experience. And it ended up being an absolute blast without the negativity and the toxicity of some of the parents who weren't there. Made it a better trip, in my opinion. Our team was probably not as talented as it would have been otherwise, had my full team gone, but it was honestly a more enjoyable coaching experience for me. I think it was a more enjoyable playing experience for a lot of the kids who came. And we ended up getting to play on some really cool fields. Namely, we can talk about Rickwood Field, which is the oldest ballpark in America. Jackie Robinson and
Willie Mays
got their starts there. Joe DiMaggio and Lou Gehrig and Babe Ruth and Mickey Mantle, and they all played there, and they filmed the movie 42 and Cobb, the Ty Cobb story there, which is really cool. And so all in all, it was just a really cool experience across the board. And I miss it. I can honestly say that I did not enjoy coaching baseball a lot this season, but this trip I enjoyed coaching a lot.
Yeah. Do you want to further touch on that?
Not really.
Okay. Yeah, Hoover was cool, man. I think what's one I want to comment on, you said about not wanting to go because your team's going to lose. That is just, I can't even express
Sure.
how atrocious that mindset is to life.
To life in general.
Because if you just say, oh, I'm not going to win today, I'm just not going to show up. Or today's not going to be a great day, I'm just not going to show up.
Sure.
I don't know where any of us would be with that mentality. The strongest mentality you can have about life is to always keep showing up.
Always show up. You're committed to something, go for it. That's a big thing for me is the people who are part of my team that went are people who their parents said over and over again, we committed to this, we're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that shows these kids are being taught, hey, my dad committed to this and we're going to do this no matter what. And that gives a good life lesson versus, yeah, my dad, committed to this, but then he made an excuse, said, well, we're going to lose, so it's not worth going to. Well, what does that show when you're 35 years old and you have to have a decision like that?
Mm-hmm.
I see everything out. When I make a commitment, that was something that was taught to me from a young age of, hey, you make a commitment, you go through it. No matter, you gotta jump through nails to do it.
Right.
You're doing this because you were committed to doing it. Understood? I think fair enough. And so even as tough of a season as this was, I think that, we can talk a little bit about the fact that I unintentionally bit off more than I can chew. I am not someone who can run an entire baseball team all by myself. I learned that about myself, years ago, but I got kind of put in the situation to try this season and it wasn't fun. But I still showed up to every practice, showed up to every game and did everything I could because I was committed to the kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we had that issue a couple years ago. We had that AA team, and we had a player leave in the middle of the season because they just didn't like the team. It wasn't winning.
Right.
And it was a AA team. We won significantly more games that year than that specific team had the year before.
Mm-hmm.
He was probably a low-level AAA player, and the dad basically was kind of throwing somewhat of a hissy fit to get his kid on a AAA team, or they were going to leave.
Mm-hmm.
And it turned out, no, we're not going to weaken this team just because you think your kid should be on this team.
Right.
And so they left. And it was just, to me, the toughest part to swallow about that specific situation was you're teaching your kid it's okay to give up if it's not going the way they want it to go.
Mm-hmm.
And that is exactly how I look at this Hoover, Alabama trip, albeit it's an expensive trip, right? And, it's an out-of-state expensive trip. But it says that, hey, it's okay to not do it if it's not the way you want it to go.
Right.
We even had a player, no names, that didn't go with my team, but they went with a different team instead. And their dad basically said, hey, it's okay not to go with this team because they're not very good. They're not winning as much as you want them to. We're gonna put you on a different team just for this tournament. Like what I mean, yeah, the immediate response of happiness is there, but the long-term repercussions of a lesson learned there is what concerns me the most when we do that kind of stuff. And so, I guess I said I didn't want to elaborate because I'm sure I can tell stories throughout the entire episode that, that just,
That's good.
shine light on that. But that was, to me, I think that's what made me lose sleep most at night was I cared about these kids a lot, but they were being taught terrible life lessons.
It's a simple rule to live by. Do what you say you're going to do. Do what you say you're going to do. Now, there is a difference between not having the funds or things happen in your life, or you have a different commitment come up that's more important. Like, these things happen in life. I get it. You have other children, you have other commitments. It's a lot of money, all of those things. Those are factors. Those are separate factors, and those are reasons.
Sure.
Those are reasons. An excuse is I'm just not going to go because we're going to go 0-6. That's an excuse. That's lazy. That's tired. That's old. And frankly, it's bullshit.
Sure.
Is what it is. Because the only thing that youth sports are meant to do is be able to be a vehicle to teach your kid lessons.
Right.
And if you at home are then reversing those lessons,
yes,
you are doing the opposite effect of what you're doing. Again, not a parent. I know it's really hard. All of those factors play.
Fair.
But I feel like I don't have to add those caveats because it decreases the emphasis of my point.
Right.
Which means you probably made a bad decision if you explained it to anyone in any point of your life, not just this Hoover tournament, but your child at any point, that they can just stop doing something because it's hard, 2, because they're not doing it well, or 3, because they're not winning.
Right.
Right. And now, if you've given it a long time, like you've played a certain thing for a long time and you just haven't gotten better at it, or you don't find joy in it anymore, that's different. But everyone who plays baseball at 14, not everyone, majority of people who play baseball at 14 generally like it at this point. They've been playing since they were 9.
I had one.
There's some love. So if you just drop out of your team in the middle of the season, it's less a reflection on anything else that's going on and more of a reflection on your personal attitude and how you go about life. And I want to be someone, when people talk about me behind my back, I want them to say, Aaron just keeps showing. He just always shows up.
Sure.
No matter what.
Just show up.
I just show up. Doesn't mean I'm good or I do the right thing. That's also a different thing. That's very hard.
Sure.
But at least I'm fucking there to participate, to try my hardest, to be a person on the team, to be with my teammates, my friends, to show support, to be the person who says what they're going to do.
Right.
Like,
And I actually had, and I don't think I've ever talked to you about this. I had one parent this year of a kid mentioned several times, well, it's going to go this way. Then I have to look for a different team for the rest of the year. Hey, let me know if he's going to be losing playing time on this, because if so, then I'm just going to find a different team to play for. And that was consistent. And it was just far be it from me, you could hate me, whatever, that's fine. And my respect for that person just decreased significantly every time I heard that. But what are you teaching your kid? Like, what kind of life lesson is that to teach a 14-year-old kid that, hey, you committed to this, but it's not going the way we want it to go.
See ya.
We're going to find a different team for the rest of the season because I want you playing this position more, and it's just not going the way we want it to go.
Instead of gritting your teeth, working harder, asking the coach what he wants to see differently, what can I work on? How can I use my spare time? How can I encourage the team? How can I be a better teammate, a better player? What can I do to improve myself?
Sure.
How's my attitude? Taking a look at myself and saying, okay, if all of the external factors were taken away, would I still be a good baseball player?
Right.
Okay, and then what can I do internally or with my own game, taking an honest reflection about my life and saying, okay, here's how I can put myself in the best chance to succeed.
Right.
Now, it might always happen. Some coaches just don't see you as that player, and they have a blind spot, or they have a favorite, or they have a this, or they have a that. That's why we can't worry about the things that are out of your control. But you can ask questions. You can seek guidance. You can say, this is the area you need to get better at. You need to get better at reading the ball off the bat or having a first step because you miss a lot of balls to your right because your reaction time off the bat is too slow, or you're not on time with the fastball, so you get more time with the fastball. Like all of these things, there's something that's happening there while you're not doing the thing you're doing. Or if you know that the guy ahead of you is better than you, get on his level. If you're on the bench, you're watching him play. Why are you on the bench? Because he's better at you than your position. Okay, how do I get to that spot?
Sure.
Why is he better than me? He's smoother, he's cleaner, he's quicker, he's faster, he's smarter. Whatever it is. Okay, improve yourself.
Sure.
Stop blaming other people for your misfortune.
Right.
Like no one owes you shit.
No.
You're not owed anything. You're not owed playing time. You're not owed anything. You have to earn it. Every single practice, every single game. Just because you went 3 for 3 yesterday doesn't mean you're in the lineup today.
Right.
Yesterday's home run does not win today's baseball game. Yesterday's home run does not win today's baseball game. That's a Babe Ruth quote.
We talked to Shea Hillenbrand about that on this podcast. If he hit a walk-off off of Mariano Rivera, the first person to ever do it, and then he went home and he wasn't satisfied. He's like, I got to do it again tomorrow.
You have to, because no one cares anymore.
No, got to go do it.
Yes, I know that sucks. That's the reality of the situation. Yes, of course it sucks. Yes, of course it's hard. But that's the point. It's supposed to be hard. It's supposed to be challenging, because then when you grit yourself through the process, then it's rewarding.
Sure.
Not just getting the outcome or getting the hit. Yeah, that's cool. But like climbing up the ladder. Being intentional about your movements.
Right.
Being the person who says, I joined this team and I'm going to see it all the way through no matter what. Now, again, there's extenuating circumstances. Understand. As a parent, you want to do what's best for your kid. But what's best for your kid is teaching them this lesson.
Right.
Because when they have a job, that doesn't go well. When they're in school and they get a C.
Sure.
They're just going to quit the class because they might get a 69 in the class. No, they're going to study harder. They're going to get a tutor. They're going to reorganize their life. They're going to navigate the situation differently better because they learned this lesson when they were 14. That's the whole point. And I got a little passionate there.
No, I love it. Because we feel the exact same way. And the problem is that I think I was in the middle of it, and you saw from afar. And I was in the middle of dealing with a lot of parents who were okay teaching them that lesson, right? And it's tough to deal with because, again, I think my biggest issue this season is I did it alone. I was trying to manage 30 million things, including being a father of a newborn on low sleep, and trying to be the best husband, and trying to be an employee, and trying to manage 13 kids and giving them the best I can while managing a bunch of parents who felt entitled to act however they wanted.
Right.
And we saw that because when we went to Alabama, we just dealt with a lot of parents who were just happy to be there. It's like, holy shit, this is how it should be because, yes, it's youth baseball. This isn't, again, no scout has ever asked a college or a high school coach, how did this kid look at 14U?
Yeah.
That's never happened. It's never going to happen.
No.
Especially now with these new rules. You're probably not going to hear about it at 15U. Maybe 16U.
Yep.
because now you're starting to sign a 17U, but you will never, ever, 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 ever be asked, hey, how'd this kid look at 14U? Your job as a 14U coach is not to go win a bunch of baseball games. Of course, that makes it more fun.
Of course.
And eventually you have to turn that page, and Lord knows it's easier said than done. But at the end of the day, did you get better for baseball for high school? Or do you know more about the game today than you did yesterday? Do you know more about this position more today than you do yesterday? Are you mentally more prepared for high school? And if you are, then yes, good. If not, different conversation. It isn't, well, you lost games. Okay, who gives a shit? At the end of the day, who gives a shit? If you win or lose 14U baseball games. Now, I care because I want to win games.
Right.
But the kid is never going to be asked, how did you do at 14U baseball? Did you win that Sunday bracket game? No, I saw a good tweet yesterday that said that scouts will look more at pool play games than they do bracket play anyway. It doesn't matter what you do in bracket play because you're going to get more dudes thrown at you at pool play to get to bracket. So scouts are going to look more at your stats in pool play than they will bracket play, and that doesn't start till you're 16 years old anyway. So what are we teaching our kids when it's okay to just give up because it wasn't going the way you wanted to?
It's a bail.
It's a big bail. And so I think that was the only issue I had with Alabama was it wasn't the kids who had committed, right? 5 of them were. They were committed. And God bless them and God bless their parents because there were a couple kids that would have been there if they could. They just couldn't be there. So that gives me 7 of 12 kids available. That's 5 kids whose parents bailed. In my opinion, in the opinion of you, in the opinion of everybody else who's a coach who knows the situation, those parents said, fuck it. I don't want to do it. Bad life lesson to teach, man. But flip the script, Alabama, awesome trip.
Yeah.
And getting to play on some of these historic fields and getting a tour of it and getting to spend time at the pool with a bunch of dudes who just want to be together, that was such a cool experience.
Yeah.
We ended up, with 15 kids?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they all just loved playing the game.
I mean, super fun trip for me. You know, my fiance is from where the tournament was. And, well, not fresh. She lived there for a few years. She's from England, but she lived in Birmingham for a couple of years before she moved to Dallas. And so we played in Hoover and Birmingham and all of that. So all of her friends from her time there live really close by. So we were able to have like a little engagement party and see her friends and hang out with them in midst of hanging out with Coach Bodzin and going to play baseball games. And Coach Bodzin's family was there, and that's awesome.
Yes.
And Mark took his first plane trip, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was cool for me because, I got to...
A lot of firsts there. So.
A lot of firsts. It was my son's first time on an airplane. Went and picked him up as soon as we got in and, spent a few days with them at this beautiful hotel with a beautiful pool. And then when they left, you and I got to spend a couple of days together. Went to go see Mission Impossible, which is the dopest movie I've seen in the theaters in a very long time.
Mission Impossible.
I went
really
to Top Golf as a team, and just people were enjoying spending time together. And it was just a very relaxed environment where we won a game. We came very close to winning 2 more games. We any given rate we could have been 3-3 or 4-2 at the tournament. With a couple things rolling a different way, and so it made it a very enjoyable trip.
Yeah, and the kids who are there can now physically see where the rest of the competition lies.
Yes,
if you think you're this good at baseball or this good at baseball, where do you line up with the kids that are better? That are actually better, that move faster, that are better, have better IQ, hit the ball harder, understand base running a little bit more, are more aggressive on the base pass, understand when the ball is in the dirt, they're going to take the next bag, always thinking 2 bags, hustling in and out of the box, how they move their feet around the bag to move double plays, where they swipe the tag, catch and throw, all of these things that you can physically see. Your coaches will tell you this. Some players need to see it.
Yes.
And they see it. They saw over 6 straight games how good they can be also. It's not like these, you run into some kids who are already 6'4" and 250. Okay, that's a different situation. But sort of in the same puberty range, the same height range, the same weight range as them, they can see how good these guys are and how good they can be if they're willing to put in the work.
Sure.
If they're willing to put in the work. And it's nice to have that in front of your eyes so there's no hiding behind your anything. It's honest right in front of you. And then you look back at yourself and say, okay, where am I at? Where am I at against some of these really good guys? Am I not even close, or am I a little bit close?
Now you know.
Where do I go? Where do I work on? And if you don't know the answer to that question, you're a player listening to this, ask a coach, ask a mentor. That's what they're there for. And you work on one thing at a time and you get really good at that. Then you move to the next thing, then you move to the next thing. And then your weaknesses become your strengths, and your strengths become holy shit.
Yes.
That's the goal. That your lower lower things become higher things, and your higher things become this. You're just moving your baseline up. Okay, this guy's this, now he's this. And you keep jumping those ranks because you've seen how those guys at 14 play, because how good are they going to be at 16? Right. You don't really know, but if they stay on the same trajectory, probably a lot better. But if they just coast, then you overtake them because you're willing to put in the work. And that's what you can see as a player when you go to those types of tournaments. Now, those types of tournaments aren't good all the time, especially if the talent is a little lower on the team, but they're good once or twice a year to see where you match up. Now, if you have a nationally ranked team, yeah, you're going to go against dudes all the time, and that's a different story. But you want to see where you match up. So going into high school, you're not surprised by the speed of the game. You're not surprised that some freshmen throw 85 miles an hour. Right. You're not surprised that some freshmen can hit the ball 400 feet, or throw 80 across the diamond, or make diving plays in the hole, or can steal bags, or read balls with the bat really well. You're not surprised by that because you saw it, and you know where you have to be. So nothing is a shock. If you didn't put in the work, then you didn't put in the work. But if you did, you know where you could possibly land. And that's really, really important when you're taking an honest reflection about your game and where you want to be. So that's why those kinds of tournaments are really cool. And I just love seeing it. I love seeing dudes be able to play. You see good coaches too, who've been with their teams for like 4 or 5 years, right? Yeah. Since they were like 10 and now they're 14, and they've developed in the way they move in and off the field, and how they have camaraderie with themselves. Like both of our teams this year is our first time coaching those 12 young men. And then even in Alabama, it was totally different because we had a bunch of new guys. Right. But man, like you telling me about that article that the Orioles said the other day. It's like, why are they so good this year? Yeah, all of their first round draft picks are now on the team. Yes. Absolutely crushing it. But they have good chemistry. Yeah. And good chemistry means they're having fun. They're probably hanging out outside the ballpark.
Dude, the crowd. Like I was watching a game the other day, and like they hit a go-ahead double in the 8th, and this kid had like a super soaker. Yeah, he was spraying everybody. I was like, this is freaking awesome to watch. Like, because a fun team tends to be a good team, and a good team begets good fans and fun fans, and everybody's having fun all of a sudden. Things are clicking, right? Losing's frustrating, man.
Yeah, especially when you lose for a really long time over and over.
It's frustrating. That's why I was talking to some people today, because Paul DeYoung got traded away from the Cardinals today to the Toronto Blue Jays. Today's a trade deadline. We can talk a little bit about that later, but one of the girls who I'm friends with was just beside herself upset because some people get really attached to these teams and some of these kids, some of these players. She was, it's just I'm losing a part of myself. I said, yeah, imagine being an athletics fan, where you're constantly losing the kids that you fall in love with watching play, and you're constantly losing at the same time. Right. So at least you're not that, right? Because losing is frustrating, and winning does fix everything, right? I have so many opinions of specific people that I wish I hadn't been around this season, that would have made this season more joyful for me. At the end of the day, I would have found more joy in coaching to be away from those specific people. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about. It's a game of baseball. You're at 14U. Scouts aren't coming out to watch you. Where are you finding joy to play the game?
Just in doing the thing.
Ultimately, if your kid's not finding joy playing the game, don't look at the coach. Look at yourself. Why is your kid living and dying at 14U with winning baseball games? Why is that more important than him playing the game of baseball that he loves every day? Mm-hmm. Like, this should be fun, no matter what. Like, yes, when you're not giving effort, it's not going to be fun. Like, I'll be the first to admit I'm not a fun person to play for if I see lack of effort. I got away from the kind of person I prefer to be on the field this year. I prefer to be more of a, wait and see here. We're gonna coach this up after it occurs. I got away from that because I think I overreacted because I was by myself and I didn't really know how to react. I overreacted to specifics. I guess I'm just gonna go with because specificities is a tough word to say.
Specificities.
Felicity. But that's all we can really. It's all we can really do as coaches and as parents is put our kids into the best situation to enjoy yourself. Of course, one thing that I think occurred, with my team is that, then the parents start talking behind closed doors. And when the parents start talking behind closed doors, what happens?
Then it just becomes really complicated.
It becomes very complicated.
Because you don't know what's happening, what's being said, what's thought about you, how you're doing. All of these things. There's a really great account that tweeted this maybe a week or two ago. And it said, I quote, "If you live and die by your results, you're going to die a lot."
Yes.
And that goes for anyone. That goes for a parent watching their son play or the kid. And I understand that from a parent's perspective. I do, because my mom, most caring, wonderful human that's ever existed on earth, was deeply involved in my baseball playing career. And it gave her a lot of stress because she wanted me to succeed so bad, just because she loved me so much. So I understand that feeling that a parent has for a kid, because I felt it from my fantastic mom. But it's hard. It's just hard. So you want to be able to, having a joy for the thing that you're doing, a love for the thing you're doing, is always going to be a competitive advantage.
Right.
Because you're going to be able to do it longer and harder because you love doing the thing than someone who only loves doing the thing because of the results.
Right.
If I only love the results, I'm less likely to put in the hours than someone who loves just doing the thing over a long period of time. And that's what baseball is. Started baseball at 5. I felt like I got pretty good at baseball at 19. That's when I felt in tune with myself.
Yes.
Like I knew my swing, I knew my body. I like felt comfortable every time I got into the field. But you want to try enjoy having, or you want to try to have fun with baseball now, because when you get to the higher levels,
and we've talked about that.
It's not about fun.
No, we've talked about that in here too.
It's not. So if you don't love the thing now, every step higher you take, it becomes less. You become less likely to have fun. Well, like the culture is less likely about having fun, except for if you're on the Orioles. So you have to have fun within yourself. You have to enjoy working out and recovering and sleeping well and taking nights off and sacrificing and being out on the field every single day and playing 160 games or 60 games or whatever it is, because you love doing the thing.
Yes.
Because no one gives a fuck if you're having fun at that point. I don't care if you're having fun. Go out there and do your job. That's what it's about. But now, if you're listening to this and you're a young kid, yes, cultivate that fun, cultivate that joy, so you just love doing the thing, which becomes your competitive advantage in the 50-game college season or the long season of high school baseball or summer baseball or whatever it is. Now you have that advantage over people who just want to hit the home run or get the hit. That's not loving the thing. So that makes a lot. That's very helpful as well.
Yes, very much so.
Anything else, Coach Bodzin?
On that front, no. I think that your squad was a whole different story.
I loved my team.
Yeah, some great kids with parents who understood the assignment, who just wanted the best for their kids, and I think that they acted accordingly, and it was good for you, man.
Yeah, we had a great season. It was fun, very fun being a first-time head coach.
Sure.
I had the only thing that was like threw me off a bit this year that was hard was because my main focus is trying to teach kids mental skills.
Right.
But as a head baseball coach, I have to teach them skills of baseball.
Yes.
So not having anyone else around made it challenging for me to decide which one do I want to focus on.
Yes.
Do I want to teach them breathing techniques, recover from mistakes, win mentality, things like that? Or do we need to go over first and third, bunt defense, cuts and relays? And so that was like challenging, because you have to be able to do the skill of baseball before you can think about sort of anything else. Because if you just can't catch, throw, hit, or run, it doesn't matter what mentality you have. You can wish and dream that you think positively, but if you can't throw the baseball, you just can't throw the baseball.
Sure.
So, and there's a great quote that says, mindset isn't everything, but it impacts everything.
Sure.
And that's really important, because I have to have a base level of baseball skill for then my mindset to impact that.
Right.
So that was challenging in that regard. Like, what should I focus on? I ended up just adding another practice in the middle of the week to do mental skills, which your team joined as well.
Sure.
So that was helpful.
Very helpful.
But inside of practice, good thing I had Coach Sims there to help. We were able to work on a lot of baseball skills, and I think my guys got a lot better. It was a great season. We ended on an incredible little streak. Man. We won 3 walk-offs in a row in our World Series. We ended up making it to the semis. Out of the losers bracket, we lost 1-0 in our final game to take us into the championship. So we ended on an incredible season. Guys got a lot better. It was really fun. So I'm looking forward to fall, whatever that looks like. I'm looking forward to next season, whatever that looks like. I'm just excited to coach baseball at this sort of youth high school level, which we're sort of at. I consider all of it to be youth, because they're still young kids with a lot to figure out. So, but yeah, that's sort of a nutshell of my season. Anything else you want to talk about, Coach Bods, or?
No, just a fun trade deadline right now, and I think I discussed with somebody today. It's nice that we're not on the field anymore, because holy crap, it's hot outside.
Mm-hmm.
It was like 110 on the ground today.
We had a long season. I mean, we started in January, didn't we?
Yeah. It was exhausting, man.
Went January to the middle of July.
How often do we want to start doing this now that the season has slowed down?
Well, I mean, let's try to do it every week.
I agree.
We'll aim to do it every week.
I got a text today from my buddy James, who you met at my wedding.
Yeah.
He's like, "Hey man, just checking in. I'm pissed off we haven't had any episodes lately."
Well, here you go, James.
Try nice.
James, if you get real bored, you can listen to my other podcast. It's called Something for Everybody. We got 2 episodes a week.
There you go.
Now we'll have a Champions Adjust, so you can have all the content in the world.
Oh, cool news on my part. And big shout out to my buddy Travis Wethington, who kind of mentored me in this. He listens to our podcast now, but I met him at the last National Pitching Association clinic, and I am now one of 9 coaches in the state of Texas who's certified under Tom House's MPA.
Congratulations, Coach Bodzin. If you're listening, give him a clap.
Cool for me. I'm very excited about the knowledge, the studying, and the biomechanics, and everything that I can bring to the table for these kids now as a certified associate coach under National Pitching Association.
Perfect. Great. Congratulations.
Yeah,
Perfect way to end. If you need Coach Bodzin, reach out to him. He can help you, your team, your player.
Flashing below the screen. 555-0183.
Don't say your number.
555-0183.
Yeah, put it out there. Let's go. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything for both of us, we're easily available, and we'd love to hear from you.
Just a phone call away.
So check out the merch at champsadjust.com,
Yep.
and we will see you sooner rather than later. And always remember that
Champions Adjust, baby.
Ow.